Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And someone has awared me that Marc Liner over at Tiger Fitness has made a video about TRT that's going to be rather controversial. Now I want to state up front at the start of this video for YouTube that I do not endorse anyone engage in reckless or illegal activity ever for any reason. Number two, I don't recommend that people use testosterone outside of the care of a medical professional with a prescription under the care of their medical doctor. Number three, I don't recommend that anyone use drugs ever. Drugs are bad, okay? No one should ever use drugs. This is purely an educational video, and I want to state up front that this is not medical advice, that I am not a medical doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So let me go ahead and put on my +5 hat of Speechcraft. Let's talk about this. Now, in Marc's video, he came out saying, look, I am very for TRT. And I'll actually agree with his stance. And his stance is that people say, well, TRT is cheating. And he's like, cheating what? Cheating death? Because when we start looking at the research, anyone who is realistically claiming that something like TRT itself is unhealthy or unsafe, well, that's not true. We have pretty wide-scale studies at this point showing that people, men over 40, who medically qualify for TRT, that those who choose to go on it under the care of their doctor so they have data for the research, and this is looking at tens of thousands of men, versus those who continue to stay at a clinically low testosterone. Right? So we're not talking about the kids out here saying, I'm going to go on TRT, and they go pin some sust. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who medically qualify for TRT, right? Who have clinically low testosterone. When they are compared to men who go on TRT, the men on TRT have dramatically lower. It's not just a couple percent lower either. They have dramatically lower rates of heart attack and stroke. Okay? They have lower rates of heart attack and stroke. In other words, not doing it is dangerous at that point. And that's not my opinion. That's what meta-analysis is looking at. And Marc covered some of that. So what we're talking about, is it cheating? It's cheating death. The problem we have is we're dealing with the fitness world. We're dealing with the fitness world, where everyone has this biased view of these substances, even in a clinical environment. And if you go do something that's under the care of your medical doctor and it is for your health, people literally, and you admit to it, people will do what? Because I've been here when I discussed in the past my former TRT use. What happened? Well, you're a guy on testosterone, why don't you look like Ronnie Coleman? Right? Because obviously the millions of men out there who are on TRT being prescribed by their doctor, they all look like Ronnie Coleman. Right? They all look like competitive bodybuilders because they're having a replacement dose of testosterone put in their body, right? Because they now have the testosterone levels of a 21-year-old. They're supposed to have 17 times the amount of muscle mass that a 21-year-old has because their testosterone's now been raised to the level it was when they were 21. Like, you guys see where I'm going with this? Now, I'm not saying there aren't advantages, but the ridiculousness of it, when you have guys who are claiming natural, who don't use TRT doses, who have 10 times the amount in their body, whilst claiming they're natural, who have the testosterone levels or androgen levels of 10 21-year-old men, while saying I'm natty, and then people say, well, how come these guys on testosterone, they don't look like them? Well, I don't know, because one of them is putting enormous, mind-boggling abuse amounts of anabolic substances into their body, and the other isn't. Talking about a replacement dose at that point. So it's almost what I would tell people, if you're on TRT because of the stigma that's out there, I would recommend that you just tell people you're natural. Now, people are like, are you telling people to lie? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And the reason for that is because there's going to be a social stigma against you for taking care of your health. You are actually going to be discriminated against by other people because you choose to be healthy and to live longer. Like, literally. You're cheating because you want to be healthy, right? Being healthy is cheating. You're supposed to die. As we get older, we're supposed to just die. We're supposed to have heart attacks and die and have all these health problems. You're cheating. Therefore, you're going to be discriminated against. It's almost like what it feels like. But the truth is, it's because of the stigma against them that people can't separate in their mind a clinically supervised replacement dose of testosterone done for health purposes versus a guy who uses 10 times that amount who's a bodybuilder, or 50 times that amount, or in the case of Dallas McCarver, based on his autopsy, 100 times that amount. And I do mean that literally. That's not an exaggeration. 100 times that amount. That it's the same thing, right? It's almost like saying that someone who takes one shot of whiskey on a Friday night is the same as a guy who takes 100 shots of whiskey on a Friday night. Now, when you put it in context of something like that, people go, oh, yeah, that's a little bit different. Of course it is. But the point here is that we're talking about medicine that improves your health under the care of a doctor. But it is equated with that. Now, is that entirely wrong on the part of the viewer? Well, no. And people like Marc are the reason, right? Because Marc stands around and goes, well, I'm on TRT. I keep my testosterone levels at 1,500 nanograms per deciliter. Okay, just because it's prescribed doesn't make it TRT, all right? That's super physiological. There is not a human being on the face of the earth who produces a 1,500 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone naturally. Okay, that is very much outside of the normal range. People say, well, what do you mean? Well, 500 is considered to be a very healthy amount. Like a healthy 20-year-old male, a very healthy 20-year-old male could be at 500. And that's perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. That guy's going to have sex 3 times every day. It presented the opportunity. Okay, that's 500. Marc's at 1,500. Admits it. Now, he got up and got defensive about it and says, well, okay, you guys can say that's not really TRT. Okay, fine, I'm on a cycle. I'm on a full-time cycle. Okay, well, at least you're honest there. But here's the problem. You got people like Marc who for years have been calling that TRT. Well, now all these other people say, well, look at Marc. He's obviously way above the natural limit. His TRT is clearly giving him an advantage. Why doesn't everybody on TRT look like him? Well, this is where I kind of hop over to other stuff. Allegedly, a fictional character by the name of Marc Pocketliner had a conversation with me years ago, since I've been on YouTube, and was stating that he likes to bulk on 200 milligrams of NPP every day. All right, 200, that's 1.4 grams of nandrolone a week, in addition to the testosterone and other stuff, right? Right? But that's a fictional character. It's Pocketliner. And that's what he likes to do. And allegedly this Pocketliner character, I happen to know one of his prep coaches and saw the list of stuff that fictional character used for his alleged bodybuilding show, and it was a lot of stuff. It wasn't just a gram. So you look at someone like that, and then people who see it running around at triple the normal healthy range, calling it TRT, who has a history of very heavy use, and then they say, well, clearly TRT is cheating. I mean, look at that. And that is a problem. That's absolutely a problem. That misrepresents the situation. Now, that aside, let's come over to the point. Is that unhealthy? Well, that's subject to debate, isn't it? Based on clinical trials or based upon certain health markers? Well, only health marker I would be concerned with, and this is a legitimate health marker, would be someone who's got their testosterone levels that high. They should be worried about their prostate, right? They should be worried about their prostate. So that's not healthy. They need to get their PSA checked pretty regularly. And I mean, prostate hypertrophy and prostate cancer is a very, very serious male health problem. It absolutely is. It has to be taken seriously. Is a person at risk for cardiovascular disease at that? Not based on any clinical trials I've ever seen. Now, people would say, well, what do you mean? Did you guys look at any of the studies done on young men? Studies done on young men who were put on amounts considerably higher than that, whose average testosterone levels were something in the range of 2,500 nanograms per deciliter, not 1,500. And we're getting up here towards 5 times a healthy amount now. What'd their blood work look like? Their blood pressure was all fine. After 5 months, all their cholesterol stayed pretty well in the normal range. They didn't appear to be predisposed to cardiovascular disease. And as Marc pointed out, okay, we know that having more muscle and having higher insulin sensitivity reduces your all-cause mortality, doesn't it? Yeah, he's right. So is someone being above that, is they overall at a higher risk of health problems? And I'm not a doctor, but looking at the research over the years, probably not. Other than maybe their prostate. But is that a big deal? You bet it is. Your prostate is, that's a serious issue, guys. Prostate is a serious issue, specifically for us older guys. So we start hitting our 40s and up, that's a big deal. It kind of matters. So why is everyone freak out about all the guys dropping? Because the guys who are dropping dead of this stuff aren't using testosterone. They're using grams and grams of testosterone stacked with handfuls of oral anabolics, stacked with growth hormone, insulin, IGF-1. These are people who are running entire massive cocktails of drugs whose hormones are completely imbalanced, are at risk of all sorts of problems. That is not even remotely close to someone who's even running a modest amount of testosterone that's not even TRT. Because you go look at some of the research, you look at the studies, you're not exactly seeing health risk in any of these human studies. The ones that make it past the ethics review board to be done on human subjects inside the United States, right? Those studies, there's nothing actually that looks risky. When you look at any of their health markers, even after the 5-month-long studies, 20 weeks, they don't appear to be a big risk. Is that to say that it's perfectly safe? No. I'm not saying it's perfectly safe, but a situation like that, amounts that are tested in human trials on humans of these various substances, because you can go check all of them. You check on me here in America for nandrolone, you can check it for anadrol. There's plenty of human trials run at fairly high doses that are not in the normal range. You can go see that for yourselves and see what the risks are. It's not the same thing, but people freak out about it because of the health problems we do see and the people who abuse. But people have to understand, most of these guys who you're thinking of who are using a bunch of stuff, for the most part, if you have the untrained eye, by the time a person looks to the point where you're asking if they're natural anymore, they are on amounts of substances that would blow your mind. For most of you out there who are new to the game, if you're looking at a guy and going, man, I don't know if that guy's natural or not, he probably has been abusing hefty amounts for the past 3 years for you to even say that. Okay? That's not the guy running a little bit of test. Okay, Cassidy Campbell was running a little bit of test. And he never got freaky looking. Let's be realistic here. It was obvious that he went on, though, to the trained eye, but only to the trained eye. The untrained eye would never detect that. So people need some perspective here with that. But guys like Lobliner are absolutely, because he's not just calling it what it is. He's not just calling it what it is. You have people who literally think that's TRT. You really do. And it's not the reality. It blurs the lines massively, and it creates ignorance. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.